All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a continuation of our last series, talking about wrestling up from the open guard. Today we're going to be talking about wrestling up from almost everybody's favorite pass, the knee cut. Okay, but before we get into that, there's a couple comments on the last video that we want to kind of go over and give you guys some solutions to. Okay, so we dropped the last video. Everybody seemed to love it. There is three main concerns, at least you guys told us in the comments. The first one was regarding the second wrestle up when Nate takes an inside leg hook. So Nate's on his back. Okay. Here, I'm hitting an outside passing Toriando. Okay, and Nate reaches up for the inside leg hook here. Okay. Now, a lot of people were concerned about a triangle. Okay. And maybe this could just be my ignorance, but I'm not sure what triangle you guys are envisioning here. But if it's an inverted triangle, what I think you guys think is that I could lock my legs like this, or like, sorry, Nate,
No, you're good.
this way. But to be honest, guys, because Nate has this overhook, there is no triangle in this position. Maybe if the guy has really long legs, they could figure four your head. But again, if Nate sits through here, okay, that's going to kill whatever lock they're planning on doing. Okay, so I don't think there's a sound triangle there. The other thing too is I know when we break down the techniques, it's like we're pausing in these moments. Let's show you guys just real quick what a regular speed. So like if I'm passing and I try to flare up, Nate's reaching and he's sitting through right away. So there's not a lot of time even to like latch on someone's head like that. Okay. But yeah, so for the triangle, I'm not really too sure what triangle you guys are talking about. There's not a triangle in that position, as you could see. If you're just talking about figure fouring the head, then again, we're going to solve that by just sitting our hips out and leaning back. Your partner is going to be once again in this weird, this weird position here. It's kind of freaky. I don't know. It's not jiu-jitsu, okay? But go ahead, sit through, Nate. Right? There's nothing I could really do from this position. Okay, Nate would just continue to sit out, turn towards my leg, continue to finish. The other big concern was the crucifix. So let me just, even though the topic, guys, we're more talking about options instead of guard retention, wrestling up. But I understand you guys are concerned about the crucifix defense. So let's go ahead and talk about what would happen there. So Nate does the leg hook. And yeah, you guys are correct. There is an opportunity when Nate traps my wrist that when he rolls through, okay, I lock a crucifix. Let's turn this way. But if you guys recall in the video, the way I said to exit out of the position was to first shrink your shoulders to the mat. Okay, now the reason why I said that is because from the crucifix position, there's two main threats. Let's go back up before you sink down. The first one is the choke. The second one is the arm lock. Okay. Now, if Nate, as soon as he sweeps me, sinks his shoulders, it already makes it hard for me to choke him because his back is not on my chest, leaving me only with one more option, which is to attack the arm lock. But let's rotate this way. So take a look at how Nate's hooking my leg. In order for me to arm lock him, I would need to find a way to scoop his arm, okay, and extend it like this. Okay, but if Nate, again, when he initiated that lock was with an inside leg hook, and I'm trying to find a way to peel, notice how it's already hard for me to peel that grip. Okay, and if I was trying very hard for me to peel it, you can see how I would need to reach this leg all the way across. Nate could grab that, extend this arm, and then rotate in like I showed in the first video. Now, I know some of you will be thinking, well, yeah, but what happens if they just stay locked? Okay, and I'm not necessarily attacking the submission, but I'm holding you in the crucifix. One, this wouldn't be getting me any further into submitting Nate. But two, if I decide to just lay here and static hold Nate, what he needs to look to do is to keep lowering. He has two options. The first one, okay, is if I'm just static holding, I'm staying tight, he's going to sink down until his head hits the mat, and then he's gonna do a back roll over the top. Okay, that's if I'm static holding him. The other thing he could do here, okay, is he could sink down and he could look to use his legs to hook my leg. Okay, and then he could use that to free his arm, and then now he's got like a Khabib block on my legs. Okay, so yes, there is a potential for a crucifix, like getting into the crucifix position, but it's very hard for the person on the back to finish the submission. And also the point of the video wasn't so much about defending the crucifix, it's the point is instead of just staying on your back and retaining guard where you're constantly defending, you guys can kind of change your approach or change your mindset and be dangerous from everywhere. If they're passing your guard, don't just defend, attack it. And we do that via wrestling up, okay? So that leads to the last comment, okay, which I believe someone said they were trying it, but they got smashed, okay, on bottom when they sat up for the single leg. Now, from my experience, when I'm teaching this in class and students are trying to do it, it's a lot about timing, and you might need to drill, okay, the entry a little bit of times if you're not used to sweeping around the leg. But the key timing with this, so the biggest mistake is as they're outside passing, people will sit up for the single leg here, but that's too far. I'm gonna sprawl on Nate. That's the biggest thing is as soon as they get outside the legs, people sit up for the single leg, they get smashed, okay? The timing you wanna do it is when I run back towards the hips. So real quick, a basic Toriano pass, I'm trying to run to Nate's hips. So the best timing to do this is when I run back towards the legs. So what Nate's gonna do is resist me, and then he's kind of give way. He's gonna give way to my Toriano, bringing my hips closer to his, and that's when he sits up. So rather than sitting up right here where you'll get smashed, Nate's gonna allow me to run his legs, and right here is where he sits, let's do the single leg, Nate. He was talking about the sweep single. That one too, that one would work, but he's gonna give way right here. That's where he sits up to the single leg. So even if I did sprawl like I just did right now, as long as Nate peeks his legs around, okay, I should hit the ground or be at least on the top of his head and not on top of his back. So let's replay that. So let's show wrong timing, where as soon as I get out, he wrestles up. Boom, you see how I'm right on his hips? Now let's see correct timing. He waits till I run towards his legs, right here. Okay, now again, that does take a little bit of repetition of like, you might need to drill this sit-up move where you sit up and you swing right away. You sit up and you swing, look at how I backstep, okay? But that along with just understanding how to chain wrestle from a single leg, which we'll cover that in another video. But again, guys, I hope that helps. Those are 3 solutions to the common comments we had on the last video. Okay, with that being said, we want to go over how do we wrestle up from a knee cut position. Before we talk about the wrestle ups, let's talk about what are the common knee cut ways people finish a knee cut pass. So in nogi, again, there's many different ways, but I'm going to cover just the main ones that you see a lot, at least in competition and maybe in your gym, okay? Maybe people go outside passing, they meet your frames, and they decide to go knee cut here. If the elbow is in, okay, if the elbow's on the inside of the thigh, okay, Nate, keep framing on me. People are gonna look to staple the knee to the floor, bring the knee across, and drive right into mount. Okay, that's if they're able to keep the elbow in, which is very hard. Okay, I'm outside passing, I go knee cut. Nate pummels the knee shield in to prevent me from getting my kneecap to the floor. Okay, now from this position, which is probably more common, okay, you're gonna see either what they call, I think, like a row drag now. I don't know the exact name, but you're gonna pop the arm off into an underhook as you reach over and slide around to try to go over the top and pass. So that's something you'll see. You'll see people camp from the knee cut, which is where they step the leg up and they start pressuring over the far shoulder in an attempt to bring the knees together and force a half guard, chest to chest, and then mount. Okay? And lastly, what you'll see is like a high step, okay? So a high step would be where they take a cross shoulder post, bring the foot in, and they're gonna look to step outside the guard and then pass from the open like that. So we're gonna cover solutions to all 4 of those and how to wrestle up. Again, a lot of us are taught in jiu-jitsu is like, oh, just retain the guard. Like maybe someone goes knee cut. Nate grabs my ankle, he steps on my hip, he extends, recovers the guard, boom, here. All that's great, right? But again, you're staying in a defensive cycle until you can initiate the grips you want. And none of that is wrong. What we're trying to express is being offensive even in defense. Even when you're not leading, you can still attack. So the top person's leading the dance by initiating the knee cut, but you win the exchange here by wrestling up. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. So I'm outside passing. Nate's framing on me, so I decide to go knee cut. Let's understand that the one thing we have to stop when someone's knee cutting is allowing them to get that knee stapled to the floor, especially with the elbow in, okay? This is really shitty for us. It's actually very hard to recover a guard from this position, but okay, let's start here because this is worst case scenario. What does Nate do if I win the inside position and I get my kneecap to the floor? Okay, well, we know if this happens, they're either going to slide straight to mount or they're going to slide out into a pass. So the only thing Nate could do from here, as soon as that kneecap hits the ground, he's going to take his left arm and sit up, and he's going to hook around my leg, very simply. Okay, and make sure it's around the leg, not around the hip, okay? Now from the leg, Nate's gonna scissor his legs, okay? Bump and scissor, now he's gonna elevate my leg, and he's gonna look to finish the single leg. Go ahead, just show us a basic finish, Nate, where he climbs the hip and he weaves here, okay? So again, passing, I go knee staple, I'm able to get my knee to the mat, Nate sits up right away into the single leg. Okay, notice there's not a lot that I can do to stop Nate from doing that. Now, the reason why it's critical you guys stay below the butt is because if Nate goes at the waist, which is a big problem I see when I teach this, the top guy will either use an overhook and wrench you back down, or they'll take an overhook and back step into the legs. Here. Okay, so you guys want to make sure, let's go back, Nate. You want to make sure when that knee hits the floor, you go underneath the butt. Now here, if I try to back step, okay, he can rotate on top. Or if I back step, okay, just stay belly down. Okay, he goes belly down, and I back step, look. He's going to end up on top either way. So you want to be under the butt. So if the knee goes to the ground, we single leg. Okay? Now let's talk about the second situation. I get into that knee cut. Again, we don't want that knee to hit the floor. So Nate pummels his knee shield in. Okay? The knee shield prevents me from getting the kneecap to the floor. He has his frames. Okay? Now, I don't think this is a very good pass. People get past the legs with this guard pass, but you never see them really solidify the pin. That's because they're going to just shoot right past the guard. Okay, so the way that people are doing that is they're going to use this bottom hand to pop the top frame off into a like halfway underhook. And they're going to shoot their hand over the head and try to knee slide out. Okay, now notice how far I've drifted off the hip. There's nothing stopping Nate from turtling in that moment. Okay, now again, because it's jiu-jitsu and we're conditioned that if we're on bottom, we just stay and play guard. The response you get from most people is they try to invert again, they try to retain guard. Again, nothing wrong with that, but again, you're stuck in a defensive cycle. How do we be offensive from there, okay? So Nate, we're here. I pop up. Okay, what Nate wants to make sure when I slide past, okay, is he's gonna pinch his elbow to his ribs, almost like he's hooking my arm. This is all gonna happen in motion. So I'm here, frame on me. Boom, and he's gonna sit up, boom, right away. Right into the leg here, okay? Now, again, he's able to snatch that leg because as soon as he feels me pop that underhook, okay? Remember, my grip is also his grip. As soon as he feels that, he's gonna chop down. You guys see that? As soon as he feels it. So again, here, boom, right here, okay? Now, in a perfect world, Nate would just keep circling behind, okay? Look to elevate the leg or switch off to a double leg, okay? But let's talk about, because I know the concern here is you get sprawled on. What could Nate do if he gets sprawled on from this position? So here, if I start sprawling, what Nate could do is step his left leg up, and he's essentially going to pull a half guard all the way to his hip and continue that angle here. Okay, so let's demonstrate that again from the whole thing. So I'm passing knee cut. I go for the drag. Boom, he pinches. I'm going, look, he catches my leg. In a perfect world, he keeps sweeping around. But if I manage to sprawl, okay, I take the arm out and I'm sprawling, he's going to step this leg up and he's going to baseball slide into a half guard, okay, and continue to go behind me here. Okay, so that's the second one. If they try to sweep right through the knee cut, let's talk about what I think is the most effective way to pass from knee cut, which is camping from there. So again, people are using that term camping now, that's why I'm using it, but really you're just plotting your weight over the top. You guys see how if Nate uses his knee shield, it's hard for me to keep upright posture and get my knee to the floor. But if I step this leg up and I creep my head over the shoulder, okay, I can start to put strain on the frames. Now, usually people take this approach because they're looking to bring this leg to the knee line here and then switch, the hip line, and then force a chest-to-chest situation where they can then mount. This one would be the hardest one to deal with, in my opinion. But the best thing Nate can do is utilize that knee shield to keep me away for a bit. So he's going to use it at the hip, and he's going to look to switch to an arm drag grip here. Okay? Again, this is a little bit easier in nogi. This is where you'll see a lot of a hand fight here. Okay? But let me go over what happens if he gets the grip, and we'll talk about the hand fight. So if he gets the arm drag grip, what he's going to look to do is he's going to jab into me with his knee shield to get me to press my weight forward. And as soon as my weight goes forward, he's going to tuck in, reinforce that leg with his arm. So he jabs into me. When I go pressure back, you can see how he brings his arm underneath his leg. Now you have two ways to off balance. He can bring his knees to his chest and off balance like that, or he could plant the top foot and do the same thing and off balance. Okay, now there's a couple ways we can finish that single leg here. Okay, once he off balances and I post my hand, right away he's gonna sit up into that single leg. Boom, there's your entry number one. Same finish as the others. So again, here, I'm planning on camping. He's gonna extend away with the knee shield and get an arm drag grip. Now, as I creep my weight forward again, he's going to tuck in and shove his arm underneath his leg. You see how that loads my weight? And Nate balls up. Okay, now knees to chest. He's going to off balance. He feels the hand post. He sits up to the single leg. Boom, goes behind. If when he reaches for that leg, okay, go ahead, reach for the single leg. I start trying to drive my knee across. Nate can go through and wrestle up through the legs. Let's take a look at that again. Here. Boom, he off balances, okay? He goes to the single and I'm trying to drive my knee across. He could just punch through and still end up behind where he could double off on the legs or elevate and finish, okay? The last one now is if when he goes to off balance, I post my foot by his head. Again, guys, I'm gonna reinforce, like, this is the critical part. I know this is what the hardest part is. Look at this action reaction. He jabs into me to make me do that, and that's when he tucks. Let's do that one more time, Nate. Jab into them, they pressure back, that's the off balance. But notice how I step that leg up. Now what Nate can do is underhook my leg, frame on my armpit, okay, and he's gonna wrestle up here to a technical stand. Now, with the underhook finish on the leg, the best way you guys can finish, Nate's gonna lock a wrist-to-wrist grip. He's gonna pull down to elongate my hips, and then he's gonna circle towards my base leg. See how this is crossing my hips? Puts you guys in a good position to finish a stack. Okay, so that's everything for camping. We got one more. Again, the other common thing from knee cut, a little more unconventional, okay, is the high step. So maybe they're in a knee cut, they're met with your guys' frames. They're gonna take a cross post on the shoulder. The hand's gonna go to the ankle. They're gonna bring this leg in, and they're going to try to high step out of the guard. Okay, although I would say this one's effective so long as no one sees it coming because it's not something that's taught a lot. But there's so many tells, like you know that if the top person makes a cross post on the shoulder and grabs your ankle, there's no other pass that's going to utilize these types of grips. So having that awareness already puts you ahead, okay? So what does Nate do to wrestle up from this position? So as soon as he feels this, and especially as soon as I step through, Nate's going to grab my ankle right away. Okay, now notice as I go to high step, okay, he's going to plant this right foot, or he could just bring his knees to his chest and off balance me over the shoulder like that. Okay, now he has all of the same wrestle ups. He could underhook this leg, extend away. Okay. Okay, he off balances. He can go to this leg, wrestle up through. Okay, or he can just do the outside one. So let's just say he's a little late to it. Okay, I'm here, and he catches it midair. Okay, he jammed. Go ahead, try to pull. I'm trying to pull my leg, and I step back down. He could wrestle back up this way. Okay, but it's all about if they try to high step, you just simply have to catch the heel. And a lot of that just comes with awareness of where the top person's frames are. Okay, so let me just give a quick recap of all 4 of them. So here, okay, first one, outside passing, I go knee cut, elbow in. My knee hits the floor, and Nate sits up single leg. Second one, try to go to the row drag. I pop it up, I pop the shoulder up. As soon as Nate feels his arm go by, he pinches down on my underhook, and he wrestles up. Okay, either he continues behind me, or if I sprawl, he steps and pulls into a half guard where he can finish. Okay? The last, camping. Okay, if I'm camping on him, he's gonna jab with the knee shield, go to arm drag grip, and when I pressure back, he's gonna tuck and off balance. Here you have this leg inside and outside. Last one, we have the high step. Okay, if they're trying to high step from here, you recognize the grip switches. As soon as they step up, you're grabbing that heel. And depending on where I fall, okay, you can switch to any of those wrestle ups here. Okay. All right, guys. I hope that helps. Yeah, I think based off the feedback from the last series, this one would be just as helpful. As always, guys, please, if stuff works, just leave us a comment. Let us know if it works for you or what questions you have. The next series, we're going to give time in the beginning to answer your questions. So make sure you comment, you share it with your friends. And also one thing, Nate had a good point when you guys are asking questions. Nate, what do you think about that?
I think a lot of the questions came from getting caught in certain submissions or positions that maybe you felt like you would get stuck in or you were in danger of. I think the cool thing about these wrestle up options is that you're creating a scramble or a transition to where you know what you're at risk for. For instance, either the reverse triangle, if there is one, or if there is also danger for the crucifix. In that transition, you can be aware of those different options, and you can already be a step ahead by preparing for those positions, whether that's sinking your shoulders to the mat for the crucifix, or if it's already sitting through if you're worried about the triangle. So that's a cool thing about doing these transitions, is creating those scrambles and being prepared for the next step.
Yeah, guys. So as always, again, try it out with your team, your training partners. Go to open mat, mess around with it. That's the best way. And learn how to problem solve yourself. Like a lot of this stuff, I was taught many things, but I would say a majority of my learning at this point has just come from bouncing ideas off Nate or my other training partners and just trying things in the gym. So again, like they say, don't knock it till you try it. But we would love that feedback. Let us know in the comments. Share the video, would really help us out. And if you guys are ever in the LA area, okay, come visit our academy. I mean, if you haven't looked it up already, we're located in the heart of Los Angeles, pretty much, kind of like Hollywood area. So you guys come by, check out a class, and thank you guys for watching.